Let me take you inside a story that's hard to believe, but it's happening. Right now, imagine this. You've got a quarterback, young, hungry, ridiculously talented. He shows up to training camp and starts putting on a clinic like he's been doing this for 5 years. He's slicing through first-team defenses, throwing pinpoint lasers, running the offense like a seasoned vet. And everyone sees it. Coaches, teammates, the whole locker room. And yet, not a single rep with the starters. Not one. That's not just strange, that's outrageous. This is the reality playing out in Cleveland and the quarterback, Mr. Sanders. And let me be crystal clear, this is bigger than football. This is about power, politics, and a franchise possibly on the edge of making a colossal mistake. Let's break this down. The Cleveland Browns may have stumbled into something incredible. A quarterback that checks every box. And they didn't even have to fight for him. He fell into their lap in the 5th round. Shedeur Sanders, son of a coach, student of the game. Built for pressure, raised in the spotlight, while other teams nitpicked his game, questioned his ceiling. Cleveland GM Andrew Berry saw something special. He saw the poise, the calm, the clutch gene. A guy who stood tall in the biggest college moments and delivered . So, Berry took the shot, but here's where the problem starts. That vision, that belief in Shedeur. It wasn't universal . Because at the top of the Browns organization sits Jimmy Haslam, the owner. And from everything I've heard, Haslam never truly bought in. He didn't see a starting quarterback. He saw a camp arm, a gamble, a backup . He didn't see what Berry saw, and now, even with Shedeur tearing it up every day in camp, Haslam isn't budging. He's not adapting, he's not reevaluating. He's doubling down, and he's shopping him, the best performing quarterback in Browns camp right now is on the trade block. Let that sink in. Now, know what you're thinking? Maybe it's not as dramatic as it sounds, but it is. Let's talk facts. Okay, Shedeur Sanders leads the quarterback room in completion percentage. He's thrown the most touchdowns. He's got the best passer rating, the tightest footwork, the sharpest reads, and still, not one first-team snap, no red zone work, no 2-minute drills, not even garbage time rotations. He's lighting up the second-team defense while quarterbacks, with worse numbers and weaker command, are getting the reps that matter. This isn't about performance anymore. It's about politics. It's about who gets to make the call. And Shedeur. He's caught in the middle of a power struggle between the GM, who saw the future, and an owner who refuses to see the present. But here's the twist. The rest of the league is watching, and one team is watching more closely than anyone. The New Orleans Saints. Let's head south for a second, as things in New Orleans are unraveling fast. Derek Carr. He retired out of the blue. No heads up. No plan B, just gone. So what did the Saints do? They reached, grabbed Tyler Shaw in the 2nd round, a raw project with tools but no polish. And it shows, barely into training camp, and Shaw is already struggling. Footwork's a mess. Mechanics are clunky as red zone decisions. A disaster. One local reporter literally called it the worst 2-minute drill in NFL history. That was the headline, not exaggerating. The Saints are panicking. And now that Shedeur might be available, they're circling quietly, but with intent. Meanwhile, back in Cleveland, Sanders is carving up the field. Days ago, he went 9-for-9 with 2 touchdowns against the Browns' starting defense. Not backups, starters, Pro Bowlers. Guys paid to humiliate quarterbacks, and he dissected them like it was surgical. Even veterans were stunned, shaking their heads. laughing not because it was funny, but because it was unreal. Former Pro Bowl corner Asante Samuel even went public. He tweeted what everyone's whispering: the Saints better make that deal now. That wasn't a take, that was a warning, because once that door opens, once Shedeur is gone, there's no bringing him back. And here's why it stings. Even more, when the Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders, fans believed the organization was united, that this was a team decision. That GM, scouts, ownership all saw the same upside. But that was never the case, Barry believed. Slum didn't. And now, instead of letting the kid prove himself, the owner's overriding the plan, turning a franchise quarterback into trade. Bait, flexing his power from the top floor. Even if it blows everything up, let's be honest, Sanders is outperforming everyone on that roster. Joe Flacco, slower, aging, and limited. Dylan Gabriel, inconsistent. Kenny Pickett, still nursing injuries and hasn't looked right since camp began. And yet those are the guys getting started. Look, Sanders, still grinding with the backups, outworking everyone, outshining everyone, and still being ignored. Why? Because this isn't about who's best, it's about who gets to be right. And that kind of ego, that kind of dysfunction, that's how franchises fall apart. Here's the bottom line. If this were any other team, if Shedeur Sanders had landed in a place where performance mattered more than politics, he might already be QB1. Instead, he's trapped in a storm of front office ego and mismanagement. A civil war playing out behind closed doors. And if the Browns don't figure it out soon, they let Shedeur walk, they're not just losing a quarterback, they're giving away their future, and some team, maybe the Saints, maybe someone else will be ready to pick up the pieces, and they'll be smiling when they do. All the way to the playoffs. Every single day, the Cleveland Browns keep Shedeur Sanders buried at the bottom of the depth chart. It's another day they flirt with throwing away. The best shot at greatness this franchise has had in years. And I'm not saying that for drama. This isn't clickbait, not chasing headlines or fishing for outrage. I'm saying it because I believe it fully, deep in my bones. I've watched the tape, I've heard the whispers, and what I see is a franchise holding lightning in its hands, with no clue what to do with it. Because here's the truth. If the Browns aren't willing to give Shedeur Sanders a real opportunity, not scout team reps, not garbage time snaps, I mean a real chance with the ones, then they need to stop pretending this is some long-term development project, because this kid isn't a maybe. It's not a just-in case. He's a right-now quarterback, and if Cleveland isn't going to unleash him, then they need to do the right thing and send him somewhere that will, because there is one team, one franchise that's not just in trouble. They're gasping for air. I'm talking about the New Orleans Saints. That team is in full-blown panic mode. Ever since Derek Carr announced his retirement, the building has been spiraling. They didn't just lose a quarterback, they lost their compass and their response. Drafting Tyler Shaw in the second round and trying to convince the world. They just struck gold. Let me say this clearly. I've got no beef with Shaw, but I've seen the tape. I've read the reports out of camp. And what I'm seeing is a quarterback who looks lost. Not raw. Not developing. Just lost. Sailing routine throws. Freezing under pressure. Looking like the lights are too bright. And this is just camp. That two-mind drill last week. Reporters called it the worst they've ever seen in Saints camp history. That's not just a bad day. That's a red flag waving in hurricane winds. And meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is collecting dust in Cleveland. It makes no sense. Saints don't just need a quarterback, they need life. They need someone who can walk in that building and instantly change the energy. Someone with swagger, command, presence, a guy who can get that locker room to believe again. who can wake up a fan base that's been sleepwalking since Breeze left. They don't need a Band-Aid, they need a blood transfusion. And Shedeur is that guy. He's not a backup, he's not a placeholder. He's not a break glass in case of emergency plan. He's a franchise quarterback in waiting. And right now, he's being treated like a collector's item, sealed in plastic, never touched, never tested. But here's where things get real. Browns owner Jimmy Haslam confirmed it. Trade talks are happening. This isn't smoke. This isn't fan speculation. It's happening. And for New Orleans, that door they were hoping would crack open, it just swung wide. Let's not forget they passed on Shedeur in the draft multiple times. Watched him fall round after round, afraid to take the shot. And it was Cleveland that finally stepped in and grabbed him in the fifth. But even in Cleveland, it wasn't a unified decision. Pick came from GM Andrew Berry, the guy who saw the value, saw the upside, but Haslam, he wasn't pounding the table. He wasn't shouting, "That's our future." And in this league, that kind of silence speaks volumes, because when the owner isn't sold on you from day one, everything becomes an uphill climb. You've got to prove yourself twice as much, earn every inch, fight for every rep. And yet, that's exactly what Shedeur's done. Just look at Brown's camp. Watch the tape. He's been the most accurate quarterback on that field. The calmest under pressure. He's been growing rep by rep, day by day. He's outshined veterans, first-round picks, second-round prospects. All right, it doesn't matter who's lined up, but still, no real first-team action. No shot to claim. The job, so I ask again, what are we doing here? Are the Browns actually trying to win? Or are they just stockpiling talent they're too afraid to use? Because the clock is ticking, and if Cleveland isn't going to commit, they need to trade him. But not for some throwaway pick. Not for a third-string lineman and a handshake, right? Now, his value is peaking. The Saints have the need. They've got the assets. They've got the urgency. They're sitting in a winnable division. They know they made a mistake on draft day, and this is their shot to fix it. This is the kind of move that changes everything. Cleveland could demand a haul, a starter, premium pick, a package that resets their own future. If Haslam doesn't believe in Shedeur, now is the moment. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't keep this kid buried while the fan base screams for change. Make the move. Send him where he's wanted, where he's valued, where he can walk onto the field and build something. Because what's happening now? That's not development. That's sabotage. And I'll tell you this, it's far from over. There's a storm brewing in Cleveland's front office. Haslam wants one thing, Berry wants another. If they don't get aligned fast, this becomes a full-on power struggle. And when that happens in the NFL, decisions stall. Rosters freeze. Opportunities disappear. But here's the wild card. Preseason, it's coming fast. And when Shedeur Sanders steps onto that field, if he lights it up, if he delivers under game speed, under pressure, under the lights, then Cleveland's phone is going to explode. Every throw he makes will raise the stakes. Every touchdown, another reason they can't afford to keep. Him benched. That's the paradox. The better he plays, the more everyone wants a piece. And the harder it becomes to justify sitting him. So here's the crossroads. Do you hold him hostage behind veterans who aren't your future? Or do you trade him and risk watching him become a star somewhere else? It's the kind of decision that defines a franchise for the next decade. Shedeur was never supposed to be some fifth-round flyer. He's not a project. He's a ready-made quarterback. Polished, composed, tested, and the fact that we're talking about moving him before he even gets a real shot. That's not just short-sighted, that's madness. But here we are. The Saints need him. He's ready. And the Browns, they've got a decision to make. This is a pivot point. One path leads to regret. The other just might lead to greatness. Now I want to hear from you. If Cleveland won't hand him the keys, is it time to let him go? Should the Saints step up and make the deal? Should Shedeur finally get the shot to write his NFL story on his own? Terms? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button if you're fired up. And don't forget to subscribe because, trust me, it's just the beginning. We've got stories like this all season long. Stay locked in.